Hello, and welcome to episode 5.14, the March 25th, 2026 Road Trip 1 edition of Notes from the Aisle Seat, the podcast that covers the arts in northern Chautauqua County, sponsored by the 1891 Fredonia Opera House. My name is Tom Laughlin, and I'm your host as we bring you news and information about arts events at the Opera House and around the region, including interviews with artists and creators across the county. With this episode, we're beginning a 3-episode condensed series I'm calling the Road Trip series, since I am out traveling and can't produce the podcast in my usual time frame. Each episode will feature the usual 3 interviews, but without the usual supporting material. The first interview for this episode is with one of the faculty coordinators for the Fredonia Dance Ensemble, Ms. Briana Kelly, and 2 of her dancers. Here's that interview now. The Fredonia Dance Ensemble at SUNY Fredonia will be taking the stage on Thursday, March 26th in the Marvel Theater. That's where their concert is opening. They'll also be performing on Friday and Saturday of that weekend. And with me now is one of the dance faculty from Fredonia. Her name is Briana Blair Kelly. She is a lecturer in dance at SUNY Fredonia, and she also has a couple of guests with her. And we'll let them introduce themselves. So, Briana, first, welcome to you. Thanks for coming on.
My absolute pleasure.
Great, wonderful. And we also have 2 of your dancers, Jenny Griffin. Jenny, welcome.
Hello.
And Julia Van Leer, how about you? Welcome.
Hey.
Okay, all right. So, dance. Again, I've said this 1,000 times. I think dance is a mystifying art form to me because I can't do it. The last time I ever danced was the Lachlan Shuffle in one of your concerts, and that was many years ago. And I wouldn't repeat that. But but it's always been a mystery to me because it's always so creative. Every dance is new, those kinds of things. And so when you go to a dance concert, you're always seeing new creative work. And so there's really nothing to research. There's nothing to look at. It's just a matter of here we are talking to the dancers and let's see what they're going to be doing. So, Bree, I'm going to start with you, if you would, to give us sort of an overview since you're one of the faculty coordinators and give us a sense of, what the overall look is going to be like.
Sure. So we have an extreme variety of styles in this show. I was really just chatting with the other dance faculty this morning, and we were trying to really wrap it up. And there's musical theater dance, there's postmodern, there's Irish fusion, contemporary, jazz, and one that was hard to describe. So it's contemporary jazz house with South Asian influence.
Contemporary jazz house with South Asian influence.
Right. And that's the piece that'll be closing out the show.
Okay. All right. Got it. I'm not even gonna go there. But
It took a while just to get that description.
did it? Yeah. Well, I can imagine. And I know you are probably doing the Irish fusion because that's your specialty, right?
Yes, it is. So yes, I'm actually restaging my master's thesis from 2017. So it's the first time it'll be back on a collegiate stage since then. But I'm also getting new costumes made for this, which we've been using the costumes I made for the past, holy cannolis, 9 years. But they're making a gorgeous new costumes for this. So I'm unbelievably excited.
That's got to be nice. That's always nice. Add a nice touch to it. So give us a sense of, who are the other choreographers? You've got guest choreographers coming in, I assume, and all that type of stuff. So give us a sense of who you've brought on to make some dances for you.
Right. So it is 3 faculty members. So it's Sam, Kenny, me, and actually our new faculty member, Parisha, and she is the closer of the show.
Okay.
Closing the show. So it's the 3 faculty members. We have Hank Bamberger is our guest artist this year. And that was made possible by the Carnahan-Jackson Humanities Fund, which is fantabulous, which actually Julia got to be in that process with our guest artist. And then we have Charles and Anna, who are alumni of the BFA dance program, creating pieces. And then the last would be Natasha McCandless, who is doing the musical theater piece in the show.
Okay. And she's also a new faculty member, is she, or
Charles and Natasha are adjunct within the department.
I
Yes.
just, yeah. Okay, good. I thought so. I'm having a hard time. All of a sudden, there seems to be a lot of turnover over there. Every time I turn around now, there seems to be a lot of adjuncts and a lot of new faculty members.
Yes, I mean, it differs quite a bit from semester to semester at this point. So we just never really know.
Well, part of that is very exciting, even though it's a little bit unstable. I mean, getting all those new voices and those new
But yeah,
influences has got to be exciting.
the dance program has been growing a lot, quite a bit in the past, what, 2.5 years now. It has been incredible to witness where it started when I was here I started in the fall of 2023 to where we are now it's kind of astonishing, and we are very, very proud.
Good, good. You ought to be. You ought to be. So, Jenny, let's bring you into the conversation. You're a sophomore BFA dance major, and which pieces are you going to be dancing in?
I am in Charles's piece and Anna's piece, which has been a really great experience. Charles's piece is a duet that I'm a part of, which is 16, almost 17 minutes long. So it's definitely a very late, was a lot to learn, but
Hmm.
been really a really great experience. And then Anna's on the other end of things is only about 5 minutes long, but it is a group of five dancers and it's a contemporary piece. And she came in to teach it in a residency style. So she was only with us to teach us the piece for about 2 days. I think we learned the piece in probably about 6 hours, like 5 to 6 hours. And then we have maintenance rehearsals every week to, keep us like cleaning the dance and keep us up to speed with everything going on. But yeah.
Okay. Julia, let me ask you what pieces you are dancing in, and a little bit about how you're working through that.
So I actually will not be performing at all because I recently tore my ACL and I'm unable to dance. But
Oh.
was a part of the Hank Bamberger residency, and that took place in the week leading up to Thanksgiving because that was the only time that he was available. So we had auditions on that Monday and then rehearsals the rest of the night Monday and then through Thursday. And then we've also been having the like hour and a half long rehearsals throughout this semester to keep it clean, make sure everyone knows their parts and whatnot. And then I also was a part of Sam's piece and Natasha's piece, but luckily I was just understudying, so nothing too crazy for those changes.
And may I ask if you've picked up anything, any other little light duties in terms of the concert to sort of substitute for the fact that, you can't dance?
I most likely will not be here because I have to get surgery.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. ACL is no joke, I know all of that from sports and all of that kind of thing. So, you've got a bit of a recovery to go through.
We're hoping that it's only 6 months because it's only my ACL.
Only.
Only.
Only she says so. Yeah. Oh, okay. If I may ask, both of you, maybe I'll ask you first, Julia. What drew you to the program? Why did you decide to come to Fredonia? What excited you about it?
So actually I came to Fredonia as a BA theater arts major.
Mhm.
And I was like dead set on auditioning for the MT program because that was like my like thing in high school was I was always like, yeah, she's a dancer, she does the musicals, she's in the band, whatever. But I came in my first semester, I had contemporary one with Sam Kenny. And she asked me one day, she was like, have you ever considered being a dance BFA instead of a musical theater BFA? And I was like, honestly, no, I haven't. So then we talked a little bit about it and how it would look, and I went to the audition and found out the same day that I was in the program.
Oh, wonderful. Good. She must have seen something in you that she liked for sure.
Well, certainly.
Yeah, for sure. And what about you, Julia? How'd you come to the BFA dance program?
Oh yeah. Actually, similarly to Julia, I had first auditioned for the musical theater program because in high school I was much more on the musical theater side of things. I had done competition dance actually since I was in fourth grade. But I hadn't really seen a lot of places for me to I guess like expand my dance experience until like seeing it in a college setting since I didn't really like have those resources for myself. But I got accepted into the dance program actually when I auditioned here, and I had been planning on re-auditioning for the MT, but I really fell in love with the studio spaces we have here and the classes, and it really like widened my perspective of what I can do in the dance world because I that just wasn't something that was really expanded on for me in high school, but it's got a lot of opportunities here that I just really fell in love with it.
Excellent, wonderful. Jenny, I'm going to ask you a question about your 17-minute piece that you're in. Um, I know as an actor, I always get the question, how do you learn all those lines? So I'm going to throw that back at you and say, how do you learn all those steps and moves? So I'm going to put that to you and listen to it from a dance perspective.
Oh, definitely. It is a lot, I will say, but I think a lot of especially contemporary works, we work with phrase work a lot. And it is a different challenge to take a dance phrase or a phrase of steps and do it repeat it, but also change it every time. So it's a different skill to not only have a layer of steps that you have, but to take the same one and change it instead of having new movements every time. But it's definitely been a learning process for me. It's a very long piece. And I don't leave the stage the entire time, so I really don't get any breaks. But my duet partner and I have really had spent this last month trying to work as a team and see how to better connect in this style as well in a more vernacular jazz form, which has been something that neither of us have really worked with doing a duet in that form before. Um, but it's really been a great process. And my duet partner is also not a dance major, but is a musical theater major. And he's great. He has been so willing to learn in this process as well and work with me. And we've been working with each other on how to take things from both of our specialties and meld them together to make a very like equal duet and like a great piece, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm always fascinated because I mean, as you say, it's a 17-minute piece. You're on stage the whole time. That can't be easy. How do you build in your breath breaks? How do you find where you have to know to go? I got to get a breath here.
Definitely. I will say, it is like we have different sections of the piece. So some of the sections aren't as intense as the others in like physicality and like athletics. Our second section of the piece is definitely a lot, but as far as like keeping up that stamina, it's definitely like a teamwork thing as well. I think both my duet partner and I will get tired during section two, but it is kind of like a connection thing. You have to look at each other and kind of know that you can do it and look at each other and kind of like build up the because you're in it together. But it is also like a training process as well, a lot. We've been working on this piece for a month, but we've been consistently doing it twice a week for 2 hours each rehearsal. So it is definitely a stamina thing you have to build up, but also like a connection with the person that you're performing with to keep each other up and keep going even when you're really exhausted.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing when I watch dancers and I know that they're communicating and I know that they're in the flow and I know that that flow it's in their bodies and you could just sense when you're not thinking about what the next phrase is, but you're just going to flow right into it and it comes out of your body and it's a wonderful thing to watch when dancers hit that level. Do you ever experience that a little bit?
Oh, yes, definitely. It is a great feeling when you can kind of disconnect from everything else happening in your life and everything else going on in your head and kind of just be in the moment,
Get lost.
get lost in it, definitely, and get lost in like the feeling of doing it yourself, but also like sharing the experience with the other people in a piece, whether it is like a duet or it is a big group dance where you're all working together, which
That's a whole nother thing.
It was
That,
fun.
yeah, that's wonderful. I'm sitting here with a big, huge smile on my face because I could just imagine Bree putting you through the ringer. And from my perspective, it's just it makes my heart do real fuzzy, warm, kind of Irish leaps inside of it to see one of my students just come into her own as a dancer and choreographer and pass all that on to her students now. And I feel good about that, Bree. All right, listen, ladies, I'm going to leave it there because I'm out of time, and you, all three of you, have been wonderful. So, congratulations to you all. I hope the concert goes off splendidly well for all of you, even you, Julia. I know that you'll be sitting in the audience cheering your fellow dancers on and all of that. So, and please get well, have that surgery, get well, come back strong in the fall, and thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
You.
you.
The Fredonia Dance Ensemble will take the stage in the Marvel Theater at the Rockefeller Arts Center for 3 performances, beginning Thursday, March 26th at 7:30 p.m. and continuing on Friday and Saturday, March 27th and 28th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets can be purchased at the campus box office 716-673-3501 or online at www.fredonia.edu/tickets. My second interview is with Dr. Scott Walters, Professor Emeritus of Theater History and Literature from the University of North Carolina at Asheville, and we discuss the upcoming National Theatre of London presentation of David Ireland's play The Fifth Step at the Opera House. Let's listen in on this interview. Well, the National Theatre Live is coming once again to the 1891 Fredonia Opera House with a production of The Fifth Step. And it's quite an interesting play. And so, because it's so interesting, I called up my good friend, Dr. Scott Walters. Dr. Walters is Professor Emeritus from
University of North Carolina, Asheville.
And he is a theater historian, professor of literature, and an erstwhile director himself. So, as always, Scott, welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you.
Thank you. I was glad to be here.
All right, great. So, The Fifth Step. This is, from what I can tell, the research that I did, it's a kind of a pretty interesting play. I wasn't able to read it, but I know you were. I've seen a couple of the reviews and maybe a short YouTube clip or two. But why don't you start and give us sort of an idea of what this play is about, its origin, where it came from, what's going on?
Sure. It's by it's a recent play. I think it just was first done a year or two ago by a playwright named David Ireland, who actually is from Ireland, Belfast specifically. And it is a play that is about the fifth step of the Alcoholics Anonymous famous 12 steps of sobriety. And the fifth step is the step after which you have sat down and made an inventory of all of the things that you have done that you need to apologize for, basically you need to repent over. The fifth step is sharing that with someone else. And that's why he chose the fifth step, is that the first 4 are fairly internal, and the fifth one is the first time that you're sharing it. So here's the fifth step. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. That's the fifth step. All right.
All right.
And so he felt like that was a good place for him to start. The playwright was born in 1976, and at one point had been an alcoholic, went to Alcoholics Anonymous for about 3 or 4 years, did not feel as if it really was for him, and yet he took away from it, enough of experiences that he felt that there was a play there. Yeah. So it's really the story of the author, really,
Hmm.
um, and his sponsor, who is the person who has been assigned to take him through to help him during the 12-step process. Um, so that's sort of the outline of the story. It's them going through a series of scenes, and it's just those two. It's a two-hander.
Hmm.
Um, uh, so so there's that. Now, what's sort of interesting about this playwright is that, as I said, he was born in Belfast in 1976, which, if you are from Ireland, you recognize that he's born in Northern Ireland, right smack in the middle of what's called the Troubles,
Right,
right?
right. Hmm.
And he was born into a family that was very involved in the Troubles. He had an uncle um, uh, who was a politician during that time. And pretty much, while he never participated in any of the actions surrounding that particular conflict, which was between, of course, the Unionists, who were Protestants in Northern Ireland who are identified with Great Britain, versus the Catholics who were for Irish independence. And it was very violent, went on a long time. Um, and so he was involved in seeing all of those protests happening. He said, I think all writers write about their obsessions, and I think most obsessions come from early childhood. I was born in Belfast, bang in the Troubles, and I saw what was going on around me, so I didn't really have a choice but to write about it. Yeah, I have a great uncle who was an independent unionist politician. Um, and he says, growing up in Northern Ireland, you didn't know one day from the next what the political situation was going to be. So there's a certain chaotic quality to it.
Hmm.
In addition, his father was an alcoholic and
Oh.
died of alcoholism when he was 4.
Mm.
By the time the playwright was 23, he was an alcoholic and had entered um, uh, Alcoholics Anonymous. Um, so it's a lot of his plays in the past have been about the Troubles.
Mhm.
This is really the first one that he's written that is not political. He's very much known for the sort of violence of his plays. This
Mhm.
is not a particularly violent play. And so he says that as he ages, he's becoming less interested in provoking the audience and is bringing a little bit more kindness and understanding into his plays. Um, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty good introduction to it. I understand that the play itself has a lot of dark comedy. The clip that I saw, it's
Mhm.
about a 1 minute clip, and it has about three or four different moments in the play where it's actually kind of pretty funny. But I
Mhm.
think that leads you in the wrong direction if you're thinking about going to this play. Those moments are indeed funny, but I understand the rest of it has a sort of a very dark comic tint to it.
It does, and that's really what he's known for. Not just the darkness, but the comedy as well. A lot of times he says he's not aware that it's comic until the actors speak it in such a way that it becomes funny. But it is. I would not say that it is grim, but he compares himself to a couple of playwrights. Some of your listeners may recognize David Mamet
Hmm.
and Neil LaBute, both of whom had a tendency to write about very male-dominated stories, men being men together. And a lot of his plays are also very male-dominated. Um, and that's actually kind of at the center, at least of one aspect of the play, which is about trust,
Hmm.
whether he said he could never feel comfortable. Um, he didn't have male role models because his father died when he's 4, so he didn't have much of a relationship there. And he says, as a young man, that what I found really tricky and still do was trusting people, being emotionally intimate, especially with another man.
Mhm.
The idea of being emotionally intimate with another man was just unimaginable to me when I was that age, 23 in that particular case. I could just about handle emotional intimacy with a woman, but another man, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have sat across from another man and told him all the things that I'd done wrong, right?
Mm.
So it becomes this sort of exploration of what it is to be masculine and yet vulnerable.
Mm. And I understand, I think, from what I've gleaned of some of the things I read about the play, that the play sort of has this, I won't call it a seesaw effect, but you think it starts with one character and then you watch the balance of the play shift slightly because it goes from talking about this character, Luca, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
who
Mm-hmm.
is the young man who is uh, joining and trying to get through the fifth step. And as that process goes on, his sponsor, James, all of a sudden is finding himself put in the position of having to have that same sort of intimate reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes for sort of an interesting twist. I think we don't want to have spoilers here, but I think there are apparently some interesting twists in the play which
There,
catch you by surprise.
yeah, yeah, I think that that's wrapped up in that trust thing. I mean, I don't want to go into detail about what happened, but what happens is that suddenly the character that you thought was the rational one suddenly becomes just as sort of irrational and emotionally volatile as the younger character, who started out that way, who is now sort of changed. And so that's it's 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 sort of it's an interesting. I don't like that word interesting. It sounds boring. It catches you off guard, and suddenly I think, like when I was reading it, I felt as if I was sitting forward, like what in the world is happening at this particular moment,
Uh-huh.
and where's this going to go? And especially if you know any of his other plays, you're really worried about where this is going to go. Because
Uh-huh.
he, at one point in an interview, he confesses that he just doesn't understand how other playwrights can manage to end plays without violence.
Well, he's taking a cue from Shakespeare there.
That's right.
It
Yeah.
stars two guys,
Hmm.
Jack Loudon, who, if you are a fan of Slow Horses,
Right.
I believe he is the young character that Gary Oldman is always, on about. And it's
Hmm.
his first play since 2018, and um, he is against Martin Freeman.
Hmm.
And Martin Freeman is, one of the great um, underrated, underrecognized character actors,
Hmm.
in the British theater. And it's so you say it's a two-hander. But what they've done is, I think, really brilliant, which is they put these two guys on a very, very bare stage.
Hmm.
Did you get a look at that?
I did, and it seemed the original production, which was for the National Theatre of Scotland, was done on proscenium, which is what the playwright wrote it for. The director at the National Theatre in England made it a theater in the round piece, which gives and he was like, it never occurred to me, but it really works because the audience is in a circle in the same way that you would be if you were at an AA meeting.
Interesting.
And I can definitely see how that play the intensity and the intimacy of a two-hander being surrounded on all four sides by the audience would kind of ramp up the emotional danger or intensity of it. And also, I think demanding like totally real acting. There is no room for being phony, either from the play or that context,
Right.
you know.
Is there any other kind of insight that you grabbed in looking at the play that you think would be interested for the audience who's going to go see it?
Yeah, When I downloaded the 12 steps,
Mhm.
and I took a look and saw, and this comes up a lot in the play, and it's mentioned in one of the interviews that he has. But the 12th step is having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. We try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And one of the questions that David Ireland has is it possible to be sober? Is it possible to be happy and not have had a spiritual awakening?
Hmm.
And so that becomes a theme that's woven all the way through. There's a second one that I did want to bring up.
Sure.
Early on, they talk about they like movies.
Hmm.
And, what kind of movies you like? Well, I like this, I like that. And they settle on Raging Bull.
Oh.
And and Luca, the young man, starts quoting one particular scene
Hmm.
from that film. And when I was reading it, I was like, this is an awful lot of time spent quoting a film here. What is this about? Well, it will come back again. In a way that again is very sort of surprising and shocking, in the sense that things are turning around. So I guess I would keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Well, Scott, thank you very much for your insights and wisdom. As always, I know I'm going to be talking to you again pretty soon, I think, and
Mhm.
we will get into a little bit of a discussion about another play that's coming up for the National Theater. So until I get a chance to talk to you, then put you on the podcast, then I'm going to say goodbye for now, and have yourself a good time there. Hopefully, you're thawing out.
It's snowing today again, so
Oh no, no, that's got to stop, Scott.
it
It's got to
does.
stop. Listen, thank you for your time, and I
All
really
right.
appreciate you being my local new theater historian expertise. Really great to have you.
My pleasure.
The National Theater Live's presentation of The Fifth Step will be screened at the 1891 Fredonia Opera House on Saturday, March 28th at 1 p.m. Tickets are $15 for adults and $10 for students. For tickets, call the box office 716-679-1891 or visit our website at www.fredopera.org/tickets. The National Theater Live is part of Arts in the Afternoon, which is sponsored by Dr. James and Marcia Merrins. There is no arts calendar for these road trip episodes, but if you have an arts event you'd like mentioned on the podcast, just send us an email at operahouse@fredopera.org. Please give us a month's notice in advance, if possible, of your event to ensure a timely notice. Also, a reminder that registration for the upcoming 1891 run for the Opera House is now open. This year's event will be on Sunday, April 26th, beginning at 9 a.m. Check out the 1891 Run webpage at our website, www.fredopera.org, for all the details. A link is provided in the show notes for your convenience. Our last interview is with director Joseph Newton of The Play That Goes Wrong, coming up at the Main Street Studios, as well as cast member Reed Cooke. And here's that interview now. When I went to London, I believe it was in 2015 or so, I went to a show down in the West End that was called The Play That Went Wrong, and I had no idea what I was in for. And I would have to say that when I came out of it, I had never laughed harder in my life. And I think to this day, I am still laughing at that play. And with me now is the director of the upcoming production of this play over at Main Street Studios, Joe Newton. Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
You bet. And also with me is Reed Cooke, and Reed Cooke is playing the part of Max Bennett in this production. So Reed, welcome as well.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Joe, let me start with you first as a director and such, because this play is hilarious. I mean, there's just no other way to talk about The Play That Goes Wrong. It is absolutely hilarious. I laughed from beginning to end. I could not believe how something like that could just keep me laughing over and over and over and over. I mean, it's nonstop. How is you as the director of this play, sort of approaching it? I think I can predict what you're going to say, but nevertheless, let me know.
Well, the good news is the script is incredibly well written. Every little nuance is included in there, and so the actors don't need to guess. I mean, it's all there for them. But it is insanely challenging that this show requires all of these actors to not give it away the entire time. So it is funny, but the second any of them on stage gives it away, it's not funny anymore. So they're the biggest challenge, and we haven't really started doing this in rehearsals yet. It's still pretty early on, but the challenge is going to be as we go on is like the audience is going to be laughing hysterically, but we have to be completely straight faced on stage, and that's a really tough thing to do.
Yeah, it's actually amazingly tough. I mean, if if the show if the actors in the show don't play this with utter sincerity from beginning to end, then the play will really go wrong. I imagine
Right.
that's the way you'd look at it, right?
Right. No, exactly. It's been fun for them to kind of just be goofy with this material because it's so loose and fun but I think that in a lot of ways this show becomes more challenging than something maybe more nuanced like a drama or a Shakespeare thing because of that fact, because of the fact that it's funny but sincere for the actors and what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think I want to make it perfectly clear that this show requires as much talent from the actors as any other show you could possibly think of. It is not a show for, you know, just screwing around with. It's very precise, and the actors need to be on top of their game. So let me ask you, Reed, you're playing Max Bennett, and that character is uh, I believe that the way he was created by the Mischief Theater Company is that he's actually one of the better actors. He's a little, kind of a little innocent and that kind of thing. So when you're looking at the role now at this point, what do you think the challenges are going to be for you?
So Max is described as the character who is the comedy relief, but let's be honest here, like literally the entire show is comedic relief. Um,
Right.
but Max is also really the one who's allowed to actually break with the sincerity a little bit because um this is actually his first time ever being on stage in Murder at Haversham Manor, which is the play that they're trying to do.
Mhm.
So every time he gets any kind of laugh from the audience, he's gonna take it and milk that moment as much as possible.
Uh-huh.
And he's really gonna try to engage them and make it a good time for them.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's really I love all of these characters. All of these characters are modeled on certain, what I would describe as certain stereotypes within the theater community. And I think that one of the key challenges for an actor, Reed, would be trying to sort of play the stereotype, but play the stereotype with the absolute believability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. Uh, Joe, let me ask you, given the challenges in this particular production, why did Main Street Studios decide to put this show on?
So Main Street has actually talked about it for numerous years. When I was involved in show decision making well, it was been 5 years ago, and they'd only done a couple shows at that time. This is one of the shows that got brought up. The biggest reason that it kept getting kicked down the road, I believe, was there was not enough time to think about the set,
Hmm.
which is the ninth cast member of the show, if you will. And the set it requires a certain set of people that really know how to build. So the good news is, um, me and my dad build things all the time. We have a fence business on the side. So when it came time to figure out who was going to do this show, first of all, I wanted to do it. I was all over it. I love this, everything that the Mischief Theater Company does, and I thought that it would be hilarious. But also, me and my dad had the facilities to put together this very safe, unsafe set, if you will, that was able to fall apart but controlled, and that takes a lot of planning, and so far that's going incredibly well.
Oh, so you're also the set designer as well as the director.
I would accredit my dad far more to the designing of the set. He's the brains of it all. I'm just there to put some screws in here and there.
Ah, okay. That's fair enough because you're right. It does actually serve as the ninth character in the play. The thing that and the amount of things that have to. I'm trying not to give the show away if anybody listening has never seen it, but the set is um, just an absolute masterpiece of stage magic in many ways. And when I saw it, the funny thing was that everything that I saw that happened on the set to the actors was something that I have seen before in real life in my own career.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what makes it such a humorous play. Um, I don't. It, is there any reason, Joe, why I should ask you to tell me about the plot? This,
Well, it's a good question. I mean, the actors are desperately trying to put on a performance of the Murder at Haversham Manor, which is in and interestingly enough, if you look at the dialogue that is simply going correct, if you will, it's actually a very interesting murder mystery plot. There's some unexpected twists and turns to it and things, but I've seen this on Broadway, and you actually don't even pick up on it as the show's going on because you're not focused on it. But there is a plot there, and it's interesting. It's well written, I would say.
yeah, and it's more or less styled after an Agatha Christie, like the Mousetrap, for example, is one of
Yep.
her plays. It's self-styled as that, so it's even a spoof on Agatha Christie kind of stuff. Um, Reed, is Joe asking you guys to do British accents, or how are we working with that?
So we are going to be doing British accents and dialects for our characters in the Murder at Haversham Manor, but
Mhm.
as our actors' characters, we are staying with our American accents.
Ah, I see. So that's an interesting mix. Yeah, because I think that, the show is introduced by the director, so I assume that it will appear to be like an American production, and so it's a collection of American actors who are put. Are you doing anything interesting with the use of those accents, given the way you're constructing it?
Yeah, I mean our whole plan for this that I'm going to give away on the podcast right now is that we want as much as possible for people to come and feel like this is a Main Street Studios production going wrong.
Uh-huh.
So while there are names that are associated with these characters from the Mischief Theater Company, we're using those names in rehearsals, but when it comes to the staging and things, they're going to refer to each other by their real names. They're going to be acting as themselves playing these roles, which kind of gives I'm hoping an immersion, especially for some of our more mainstream studios regulars might get to see some of those people they've seen in other shows shine through a little bit. Not to mention just the fact that, it becomes a lot more immersive for the audience to think that something could be going wrong, and we can really kind of convince them from the beginning that this is supposed to be something that went right.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, that's an interesting choice. I like that choice. I think that's going to be real interesting. Can Reed, how about some of your fellow actors? Who else is in the cast with you?
So my cast specifically consists of actors such as Abby Riley, Peyton Alessi, um, let's see, I believe Sean Solomon is in my cast. We do have two different casts, so we're definitely seeing how we gel together
Okay.
and making something work out of both of those casts.
And so Joe, why two different why two different casts? Is the physicality of the show such that you think it requires two casts, or are you just giving opportunity to people?
There's a kind of a triple win situation in this, I think. So one of the reasons was it's an 8-person cast,
Hmm.
and that is really quite small for what we're usually getting at Main Street in auditions. So initially, I actually went into this thinking, let's just do exactly two casts. We'll cast 18 people, and everybody will get to play, half the shows, 3 of the 6 shows that everybody will do. But then We actually, and this really surprised me, but I believe because of the college's productions, we didn't get enough auditions. So two of our characters are playing for all the shows, but the rest of them are split. Also because they will act as the backstage members when they're not playing their characters on stage. So everybody gets to attend all shows and be a part of all shows. They just act as their backstage counterpart, which I think gives them that sort of uh, reflection about I've been on stage and seen how this happens from the outside, and so now I know how I should do it from the inside so that it looks good out there.
Yes. Did you give any, I'm sorry, I'm just pulling this right out of my head here, but did you give any thought to the fact that it's possible that in the middle of the performance something goes so badly wrong that you have to replace one of the actors with one of the other actors from the other cast?
Let's say that it would be unplanned and unfortunate, but entirely possible that that could happen.
Okay, all right. I think that's an interesting idea. Well, listen, I wish both of you guys an awful lot of luck with this show. It's fascinating to me because I know how difficult the show is to pull off, particularly technically. I mean, it's funny that the play is called The Play That Goes Wrong when so much has to go right. Yes?
Yep, totally true.
Yeah, totally true. So I hope you guys do a really fantastic job. And I know the audiences, if they go to see this show, they're just going to leave with a smile on their face for days and days and days. So Reed, thank you for joining us at the podcast. Appreciate your coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, and Joe, good luck with the direction. I know that you've got your hands full. So between the set construction and getting the cast together and the full-blown blast out, no holds barred energy that you're going to need from your cast, good luck, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. They're
You
doing
bet.
great.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear they're doing great. All right, gentlemen, take care. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be talking to you soon about another show.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. Bye.
Take care.
The Play That Goes Wrong will be presented at Main Street Studios for 4 performances, opening April 9th at 7:30 p.m., with additional performances on April 10th and 11th at 7:30 p.m., and a matinee on April 11th at 2 p.m. You can find a link to their ticket website at the bottom of the show notes. And that's it for this Road Trip 1 edition of Notes from the Aisle Seat. My thanks to Briana Kelly and company, Joe Newton, Reed Cooke, and Dr. Scott Walters for being my guests. Our Road Trip 2 episode will be available on Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. I'm Tom Laughlin, and until then, be safe out there and be kind to one another.